This is Marketing Uncomplicated. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the show. I have a very special guest, and we're going to be diving into some crucial aspects that every small business entrepreneur and even a mid-sized company needs to be thinking about. Lindsay Pennington is a seasoned professional in the field of business development with a passion for helping businesses build credit with their EIN number. We're going to get into that because I'm sure if you are wondering, my EIN number? Within 15 years of experience in assisting business access resources as executive director of the Port of Wilmington Maritime Society and recently working with the Pete DuPont Freedom Foundation, Lindsay now serves as the Director of Business Development for Trebuchet Solutions. She'll tell us what Trebuchet stands for, specializing in providing tailored solutions to businesses seeking to improve their business credit profiles, known for the ability as a people connector in the community. Lindsay is committed to empowering businesses to access funding without risking personal assets. So good to have you, Lindsay. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Sasha. I really appreciate that introduction, and thank you for having me on your podcast. This is really exciting for me as well. I'm so glad to be able to share this information with you. This is powerful knowledge that business owners just don't know enough about. You know, it's not like anybody handed us the great big book of how to entrepreneurial. So this is happy to share a little bit of wisdom.
So true, so true. So tell me, let's take a step back. Tell us a little bit about Trebuchet and what it stands for, because I love the meaning behind it when we talked about it.
Yeah, sometimes people get a little hung up on the name, and it's funny because I'm a Delawarean, and in Delaware we have something called pumpkin chunkin', and it is I know, right? It's a down south
I love
hobby
it though.
of
Yeah.
ours where we put a pumpkin in a big catapult and we launch them across fields. And
That's
as
amazing.
Delaware, Delawareans know what I'm talking about, but it is very extra special Delaware thing.
Yeah.
Right up there with our other quirkiness for
When
this
does
state.
this happen?
It can happen several times of the year.
Okay.
But usually if there's an excess of, pumpkins in the
Okay.
area. So, typically in the fall.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah.
I think I need to
So
make a trip down and
I
just
know,
witness
right?
this for myself.
Delaware is extra special in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
So trebuchet is the French word for catapult. And like I said, Delawareans are like, oh yeah, okay, pumpkin chunkin'. Whatever, you can correlate to helping you remember what the name is. But our job here is to use that trebuchet or that catapult to help business owners catapult into the next level of their growth.
I love that. I love that. So let's just dive in terms of like the introduction that I kind of walked everybody through. So it's building business credit with their EIN number. I know when you and I first met, this was something that I had no idea about. And so I think, let's start from the baseline, if you will.
Yeah, for sure. So what does Trebuchet do? We're a business credit builder program. We help mitigate your personal risk by removing personal guarantees and improving your fundability foundation for vendors and lenders. And our objective is to help make your business irresistibly attractive to lenders. So, there's a lot of sayings out there in the entrepreneurial world, but, one of them is certainly that you don't want to have your feet being held to the fire before you decide, oh, I really need a line of credit, or I really need a loan, or, when you want to be able to help your business to sustain, or before you even get to those difficult times.
Yeah.
So how do you do that? And it's really, once I start talking about it, things kind of going to click, because business credit is, similar in some ways to personal credit, in that when you have really good credit, this is going to potentially save you tens of thousands of dollars in a bad interest loan. It could mean the difference between making and breaking your business, taking that, chewing off pieces of your profits because you've gotten into a bad situation is the last thing that you want to do as a business owner.
Yeah.
So we can start there at the very beginning. What is the difference between personal credit and business credit?
Yeah, I want you to dive into that. And I also want you to dive into, because a lot of people will set up a business and they won't set up a business banking account, and they will let everything fund through their personal account. And I think that that's really interesting to hit on as well.
Yeah, definitely. So the difference between personal credit and business credit, number one, personal credit ranges from $350 to $850. And what happens when you were 18, 19, 20 years old, you took out your first credit card, you got a loan of some sort, and your business just started building, or your personal credit just started building. And the reason for that is because those vendors and lenders are required by law to report back your payment history, positive, negative, whatever. When you take out your first credit card, your personal credit automatically builds because it is legally required for them to do so. With business credit, it runs on a scale of 0 to 100, and there's no law stating that they have to report back payment history. So only 7% of business lenders and vendors actually report positive payment back to the business credit bureaus. And the key word there is positive, because if you make a negative payment, if you miss a payment, if you don't pay, they are more than happy to report that, because your interest rate's going to go up.
Yeah.
And it benefits them, but it doesn't benefit them at all to report any positive payment history back. So, this whole process is, thinking, now I need to find some way to demystify this. How can I find a lender and vendor who's going to help me build my business credit, who's going to report all the payment history so that I can start building business credit, as opposed to with personal credit, the way that it automatically builds and I don't have to do anything at all.
Yeah.
So another difference between personal and business credit is, the higher utilization on your personal really starts to hurt after a while.
Okay.
You might start to be declined for funding because of utilization scores. And that's like, as a personal, credit business, I don't normally have 5 cars sitting in my driveway, but as a business owner, I might have 5 car loans. That's perfectly normal. But with personal credit, it's not meant to hold that kind of utilization on it. Whereas business credit, the more that you use, the more that they give you, because they're like, oh, this person's trying to run a business.
Yeah.
Give them more credit.
Now, when somebody, that was super helpful. When somebody goes out and applies for like a business credit card versus like a personal credit, are they looked at this as the same person? Like if they go and they apply for the business credit card in the beginning, will they look at that person's personal credit number?
Yeah.
Okay.
So initially what's going to happen is that there might be a formula involved. There might be a combination of things. However, at Trebuchet, we've kind of demystified this process. And once we make sure that your fundability is set up, when you get into, it's like step 3 within a couple of weeks of working with us, you're going to open up a screen that has about 30 to 40 different lenders and vendors that you can utilize that only report with to your EIN number.
And those lenders and vendors are obviously ones that you guys prefer to work with, and that you feel that are best for the small and mid-sized companies, correct?
Well, I'd say correct, but also we work with them because it's very transparent. We have all of their underwriting requirements. And a lot of times companies don't like to give out their underwriting requirements. They say, oh, okay, we'll get back to you in a couple of months. We'll see if you're approved, but we at Trebuchet like to help entrepreneurs in such a way that you know what you're going to get approved for, but before you even apply.
Oh, that's great.
So these cards, the reason, these lenders and vendors specifically like that, the reason that we like to work with them is because they show us up front what it is that they're looking for in a client themselves, but also where they're reporting to. They report to Dun & Bradstreet, they report to Experian, they report to Equifax.
I mean, that's great because then they don't have to like take a gamble, apply, get dinged, and then the credit goes down and so on and so forth, because that happens way too many times.
For sure.
Way too many times. So this is all fantastic. I mean, let's say I was to call you, Lindsay, and I'm like, let's get started. Walk us through the process in terms of how you would onboard a client, and give us some case studies of maybe 2 or 3 really different setups for a variety of different clients, so we can understand.
Sure. Yeah. So I think that a lot of the large part what I do is I do a lot of traveling and I do a lot of educational webinars and seminars. And the reason for that is because I always start at the beginning with every single client. Like, let's talk about the difference between personal credit and business credit. You would be surprised, or maybe not, but there's business owners that have been in business for 30 plus years. And when I start talking about, and one of the things I like to do is I say, hey, can everyone tell me, you raise your hand if you know what your personal credit score is, within 10
Yeah.
or 20 points, I have an idea of what that is. And then I say, do you know what your business credit score is? And I get crickets. And,
Yeah.
they're like, well, I didn't know that
Wild.
was different. Why was that different? I'm like, well, when you first open your business, you got an EIN number. That is the social security number for your business.
Yeah.
You have the ability to start building upon that as soon as you receive it. Not
Just really
when,
quickly, kind
yeah,
of jump in there, and I don't mean to break up your train of thought, but from an EIN perspective, because when you first sign up, you have the option to sign up for an EIN. You don't necessarily need to do it right there and then. So you're saying that it's important to make sure you get that EIN number, even if you're a
it
solopreneur.
is. Yes, it
Okay.
is important. And we can dive into all of that with you. Part
Yeah.
of our onboarding process is collecting this information. And
Yeah.
I like to learn about your business. What are your goals? What was what was your mission behind this process? Why did you start your business? And what
Yeah.
do you ultimately want to do?
Yeah.
So when you were starting to ask about case studies, I'm going to take the entrepreneur who'd been in business for 27 years, fantastic plumbing business. And, they were trying to break into commercial work. They were a residential plumber, and they couldn't figure out why they couldn't get approved for lines of credit or loans. Some banks were telling them things that just weren't true. Like, hey, you need to have a couple more commas and zeros after your revenue before you can qualify for an EIN only loan, which
Yeah.
is grossly untrue. This is untrue.
Yeah.
You can start building that business credit and get access to that within months of opening your business.
Yeah.
So, he was being told things like this and it was frustrating. We started working with, this plumber, and what was happening was, we were checking the fundability, his foundation. And yes, he'd been in business for a long time. And that meant that, hey, there was an address over here that wasn't matching up. There was a phone number over here. There was some mismatched information between his website. So think about, your process with an underwriter or filling out an application. What you're putting on that application, an underwriter is going to go investigate and research whether or not you're a legitimate company.
Yeah.
So they're going to look, they're going to Google you, they're going to look at your website, and they're going to look for your website to ensure that your business address is located on that website and that it's not your home.
Yeah.
We don't
Yeah.
want to put your personal assets at risk.
Yeah.
That your business phone number is located on your website. And by the way, it's not your personal mobile phone. And also your email address, it can be something like info@bestplumbingever.com.
Yeah.
But it can't be a Gmail, a Yahoo, or an AOL, because that's a red flag for fraud in the eyes of the
Sure.
underwriter.
Sure.
So you're looking for some basic, website red flags that they're going to come up for in the eyes of an underwriter. Make sure that those things are, listed correctly on your website. And this plumber, there were some things that were mismatched. He'd been in business for so long. He'd made a couple of moves. He changed locations.
Yeah.
And never thought to go back to the IRS, to your business checking account, or to the Secretary of State and update these things. But guess what? That's where the underwriter's looking.
Yeah. My
So
gosh.
it comes down to things like commas and periods in your business name. Is it a DBA? All of these things are just going to be an automatic denial for, business credit every time, because the underwriter is going to say, okay, none of this matches.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the first part of the process, is that we really just go through making sure that you're fundable on paper, that you're
Yeah.
looking like a rock star.
Yeah.
And, once we got that cleaned up for the plumber, now he's able to go bid on some commercial work, because what happens with commercial work is, your business credit is pooled.
Yeah.
By the way, it's public knowledge. Anybody can pull your business credit, including your competitors.
Yeah.
So all you have to do is slide 2 business credit reports across the table and say, which one would you choose?
True.
Which one looks more viable to you?
So losing business just for something silly.
For something silly like, I didn't build my business credit correctly.
Yeah.
So, you want to see that at least an 80 business credit score. You want to
Okay.
make sure that everything is correct. Your NAICS code, your SIX code, your address, all the things that are going to show up on the credit bureaus. So make sure that that's up to date on Dun & Bradstreet, on Experian Business, on Equifax Business, because when you go into a bank, do you know which credit report they're going to pull?
Yeah.
So
No.
it's not going to do anything. It's not going to do any good to have a great DUNS number, which if you're paying for, by the way, it's free. You don't have to. pay for
Yeah.
that DUNS number. They want you to pay for it, but it's
Sure.
free. You don't have
Yeah.
to. But making sure that all three of the credit bureaus are robust and that they have similar information, similar, scores on them is really important moving forward. And that plumber is now able to bid on commercial work confidently.
So good.
Um, Not only that, but what happens when you get the job? Oh my gosh, now I won the bid. What's next? Now I need, $100,000 to float my employees for the next 3 months
Yeah.
or to buy the material that I need, as a plumber. Oh my gosh, I can't imagine how expensive, it is for commercial work. I know that in
True.
my own house, the residential work for plumbing is an arm and a leg. So, this is something that the plumber now has to float for 3 months until they finally get paid from the job.
Yeah.
What are they going to do? Take a line of credit against their house?
Wow.
Stop risking your personal assets. You can get access to lines of credit and loans without using your social security number. It is possible. You don't need to have more zeros and commas.
Yeah.
These things are all possible. They don't like to tell you this because they
Yeah.
really want your personal assets, but it is possible.
It is so horrible. I mean, just to think about how when I went in and when I started my business and I opened up a business account versus a personal account, when I asked her, does it really matter? Oh, not necessarily, just tax purposes. And that was the only thing
Oh my
she told
gosh.
me.
Yeah,
And then it's like, meeting people like you and then, meeting other people that are in the finance world and how can business credit eventually, help me down the road as well. Maybe I want to buy an investment property and I don't want to put it under
right.
my personal. I want to put it under my business name. Like it's
That's right.
these little details. And it's to your point, when we started talking in the open to this conversation, there is no toolbox that's out there. There is no, okay, you've started a business. These are all the things that you need to be set up successfully. It is wild to me
No,
how
and
that's
and
not even,
entrepreneurs, small business owners are the lifeblood of this country.
yep,
They are the most important thing to the economic development of this nation.
yes,
Entrepreneurs, unfortunately, also get the short end of the stick sometimes.
yes.
And, you know, the business
Most of the
owners,
time,
most of the
unfortunately.
time, I know.
Yeah.
And they're so passionate. I love learning about everyone's businesses. They're so good at what they're good at. It doesn't necessarily mean that they have fantastic business acumen. It,
Yes.
it
Most
doesn't,
of the
I
time
mean,
they don't
no.
because they're the craft. They're the ones coming up with the
Yes.
concept and the idea. They're not going to know everything that as it
No.
relates to making it a full-on success.
No. Business owners are solving amazing problems
Yeah.
in this society. They're solving problems, but it doesn't also mean that they need to know everything or they should have an MBA, in business finances. That's why it's important to find out who can help you,
Yeah.
um, and make sure that you trust them and they trust you along the way, so you can get the help that and the advice that you need.
So I'm curious, because my marketing brain obviously is ticking, and I'm like, but I'm sure she's already thought about this. How have you connected with banks to support and do webinars sponsored by Chase, webinars, excuse me, sponsored by whoever to really educate the small business arm? Because, they do have pages on their website that are like, if you're a small business, click here, and it's like all this overwhelming amount of information. Or have you connected with, government level SBAs on the ground and so on and so forth? I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah. Well, excellent question, Sasha. And I'd have to say, without getting myself into too much trouble,
Yeah.
that a lot of the larger banks don't want to offer EIN only loans.
Yeah.
They will always ask for your social security number and say that you have to personally guarantee this.
Yeah.
There's a lot of smaller banks, federal credit unions that do offer things like this. But unfortunately, Chase does not. So there's
Yeah.
a couple of the bigger banks just don't, again, they want your personal asset.
Yeah.
So they won't offer those
Yeah.
type of loans. They'll always say, you need to personally guarantee this as well. So there's a lot of great smaller local banks out there that will work with you
Yes.
to provide an EIN only loan. Or a revenue loan. We also have a couple of programs at Trebuchet where we have some entrepreneurs who just want to give back to other entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
Rather than having their money sit in a bank somewhere, they're
Yeah.
more than happy to lend that out. So There's options. And what we do at Trebuchet is we like to give you options. As a business owner, you should have choices,
Yeah.
to either personally guarantee it or not.
Yeah.
And I think that that's just, empowering business owners to have a choice is our biggest mission.
Yeah. That's fascinating to me. I mean, what about then, what about business lenders? I mean, but I guess most of the time they are connected to like larger banks, or would they be more open to obviously support from that standpoint?
Yeah, I think it just depends. You can just have that chat with them and see if it's something that they offer.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of, I know the SBA in particular, and you can Google this, the
Yep.
SBA in particular does a formula based approval rating. So what they do is take into account your business credit score, maybe like your revenue, and they combine all of these things into a formula, and their computer system will spit out, hey, the risk on this one, or whether or not you will get approved for that. So
Yeah.
there's tons of business lenders and vendors that do take in effect your business credit, and as a business owner you might not even realize it.
No, not at
Maybe
all.
rely on your social security number, your personal credit, to kind of fill those gaps. But
Yeah.
again, business owners don't usually have the best personal credit scores. You're out there bootstrapping the heck out of it.
Yeah.
Your personal savings, your retirement, you're taking lines of credit against your home, and you're out there killing it, but you're also killing your personal credit score. So
Yeah.
that's why it's so important to get a business credit score, because it'll help offset, and we can start stripping away those personal guarantees. And as this happens, you're going to see an uptick in your personal credit score, because you're no longer, getting
Relying on
gas on
that.
your, so
Yeah.
yeah, you're not getting gas with your social security number. You're not
Yeah.
getting an airline ticket with your social security. You're using your EIN number instead. So you're going to see your utilization, go down,
Yeah.
and, that really helps your personal credit score.
That's amazing. So one of the things that I wanted to bring up, I think that, knowledge is empowerment. I mean, and providing these small business owners with, the tools to really ensure that they set up and they set themselves up correctly. I also like the way you have set up your business in the sense of, you have this financial piece, then you also have the marketing piece, and then you also have the sales piece. But before we dive into that, you did talk a little, you talked about this one case study, which was the plumber.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to let the listeners know that you aren't small is not very small for them to get on a call and have a conversation with you, and then the mid-level size company, which I
Yeah,
think is a nice like vast. So just tell me a little bit about the industries that you support, and
sure.
maybe a little bit about, and this goes into like the data of your audience, but who are the ones that are in need the most, and who are the ones, I guess maybe it is the real small businesses like the plumbers and so on and so forth. But I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
Sure. Yeah. Let me talk about a couple of more case studies then, because one of the biggest case studies, or one of the most popular entrepreneur that I work with is more of like a solopreneur. So maybe your business is brand new, which, hey, great. When I'm looking into the background information on your business, I don't find 15 addresses listed, and we don't have a lot to clean up. So it's a lot easier to start building business credit when you don't have that huge long history of, 5 different phone numbers and addresses and emails, etc. So we work with businesses that are just getting started, and it's a lot cleaner. But as far as industry goes, I can't think of a single industry that doesn't need to have business credit, because really this
Yeah.
is going to allow your business to seize opportunities as they come, or they're going to enable you to weather, a global pandemic, for example. So you want to make sure that you have the tools in place before your feet are held to the fire as a business owner. So all industries, but I have to say the construction, the trades industries are on the front line. And the reason that they're on the front line is because their business credit is pulled whenever they go to bid on a job. And unless, the other industries are working specifically with the government, where they're having their business credit pulled for bids. But the trades more often are. And what happens is, again, if they win that bid,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, now I need to front some money here. Where am I going to get that money from? That's your business. It's not your personal. You need to make sure that the two of them are kept strictly separate. I would say another, group of business owners that I frequently work with are like Main Street style businesses, mom and pop, and
Bakeries,
yeah, and
stylists. Yeah.
they can't move. They don't have any, they've reached a plateau of some sort where they just can't get to the next level of their business, and they need an infusion of cash in order to get there. And again, a line of credit or loan against their EIN number, not putting their personal assets at risk so that they can, draw and take from. And now I can hire these 2 more employees so that I can start, outputting more of my business. I can hire a great marketing or a sales firm so that I can actually, branch out and get more business. You might feel stuck, because you don't have access to an infusion of cash for your business, and you just can't get to that next stage. Also you think about, on the front lines are business owners who, they're out there trying to build a business, but what next? Do you have an exit transition in mind? Are you going to sell your business in 5 years? Are you going to leave it to kids? Are you going to make your kids buy it? So,
Yeah.
whatever your plan is,
Yeah. What's the next step in the trajectory?
You can't sell your social security number with your business. You need to make sure that your business is standing on its own 2 feet. And of course, a business with a $500,000 line of credit attached to the EIN number is going to sell for a lot more than a business that can't fund itself.
Very, very, very interesting when it comes to like the selling piece, which I think a heck of a lot of people wouldn't have even thought about that. That's
Yeah.
incredible. I mean,
Yeah. Sometimes I get on the line with business owners and they're like, oh, I don't need to do this. I'm retiring next year. I'm like, great. How are you going to do that when your social security number is on everything in this business?
oh wow. That last piece in and of itself, just when it comes to, I don't have a legacy to take over, I'm going to sell this when I'm 65. That last piece is so crucial for somebody to really understand. I mean, that is
Yeah.
huge, huge. Okay, so wow, so much good information here. Thank you so much, Lindsay.
Yeah. You're
So
welcome.
do talk a little bit more then about how the, the finance piece is the premise of your support and the support arm. But then tell me a little bit more about the support arm from the marketing and sales standpoint as well.
For sure. So
Because at the end of the day, you really are this toolbox.
yeah, and we tried to really infuse a sense with the entrepreneur that we can become their one-stop shop and be the connector for them. Business owners, they're busy. They're busy with their craft. They're busy with their small business. They've got a million things to do. And I just want this whole process to be easier for them. That's why we kind of do a lot of hand holding through this business credit process. You're on board kind of learning every step of the way, but we're also kind of freeing it up from, you trying to figure out how to do this yourself. Well, inadvertently along your pathway, we get to the fundability portion. Maybe we're registering with the 3 business credit bureaus, making sure that, you have your address in order and things like that. Well, you also do need a landing page for your website, and it can be very simple. It doesn't have to be anything crazy. It can just be a simple landing page for your website. And on that website, you need to have listed your business phone number, your business address, a business email. Cannot be a Gmail, Yahoo, or AOL. So in doing that, we don't do websites.
Yeah.
But I do have a list of partners that I can refer to you. And sometimes, honestly, I try to match up personality types as well.
Yeah.
Who needs a little bit more hand holding? Who needs a little bit less hand holding? Who's going to get this? What company is going to work best for the entrepreneur?
Sure.
I completely take that into account. Sometimes industries, I take them into account. I know someone who's really, really great with the trades and can make you a trades website, really quick. They know exactly what you need. But that's not something we do in-house.
Yeah.
We work with our partners very closely. And, I also believe very firmly in not just say, hey, go meet with this person. Sometimes I set up the meetings for them. Again, you're a busy business owner. You don't have time to answer this email or, try to connect the dots here. So I'll just say, hey, I'm going to connect you with ABC. I'm going to put them on your calendar. You're going to meet with them at 8 a.m., and it's there. It's already done for you.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just do a warm introduction, making sure that there's a warm handoff, phone call, here's some additional information. You can book a meeting with me. But it's really important because we don't do everything here. But as we're talking to the business owners, things start kind of coming out of the woodwork.
Sure.
Oh man, I never did get a business phone line. How do I do that? I'm like, yeah, you can go get a Google VoIP number. You can, or here's a company that we use, fantastic small business themselves, and they can provide you with a business phone line that can be routed straight to your mobile phone number.
Yeah.
So there's lots of options, and we certainly don't do it all here at Trebuchet, but we like to make your process as streamlined as possible.
For sure. And then the sales piece as well.
Yeah, the sales piece as well. Same thing. You're going to look for an increase of revenue with whatever you're trying to do with your business. Who doesn't want an increase of revenue and more access to sales and marketing?
Yep.
And we carefully curate and match the entrepreneur with someone who can help do that. And I'd say, Sasha, as well, one of the biggest referrals that I make is actually in the finance world.
Yeah.
We're financial, people ourselves here, but when I have business owners start coming into these lines of credit and these loans that are $500,000, I often say, and do you have a financial advisor? Do you have someone you can talk about wealth management with? Because please don't go out and buy a Ferrari with this money.
It's like this new meme that's going around on social media. It's like, oh, if I won the lottery, I won't tell anybody, but there will be signs, and it's just like, of course, because it's like you get a pile of money and you just want to spend,
And it's exciting,
Sure.
It's a lot of ways. It's a mile marker. It's a celebration, but hey, why don't you infuse that celebration in someone who can help you with your sales and marketing funnels, and, wait on the Ferrari, wait until you can pay yourself for the Ferrari and not use your business line of credit for that.
No, absolutely. I mean, and it's really setting themselves up in a slow and steady growth format. So that's incredible. Wow, this has been so juicy in terms of just everything that somebody needs to know from the get-go of starting their business, or to your point, somebody who's been in business for 20 something years and needs to take a step back. It is incredible the amount of businesses that are out there that have so many missing pieces. So what I would love to just kind of hear from you, Lindsay, is what are the 3 biggest mistakes businesses are making today? Or maybe the questions that they should be asking when, starting their business, and, to walk them through that process so that they have at a high level, okay, here's my checklist that I need to make sure that I have, prior to doing X, Y, Z. So what are the 3 most prominent things that you would advise?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for asking. That's a great question. I always end every conversation I have with an entrepreneur with what can you do today? How can you get started today?
Yeah.
Review your documents. When you were so excited to register with the Secretary of State with your business, make sure that the address that you gave the Secretary of State, that the actual business name is something that you're still using today, because 9 out of 10 times it's like, oh yeah, that was an old address. I just never updated it. How did I update that? Where do I go to update that?
Yeah.
You can go back to the Secretary of State address for your state and go ahead and grab some paperwork, and you can email it in. You can send it in via mail, but definitely make sure that those things are updated, because that's going to hold you up every single time. The underwriter is going to go and check the state that you're registered in, and some old address is going to pop up that does not match the application that you're submitting. So same thing with your business checking account, check that paperwork. And also check with, Experian, Dun & Bradstreet, Equifax. Again, you don't need to pay Dun & Bradstreet in order to have a DUNS number. Sometimes when you do, they'll inflate that score for you, which is very nice of them, until somebody else, takes your Experian or Equifax business credit
and
report
pushes it
instead.
down. Yeah.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter what your D&B is then.
Yeah.
So check both, all 3 of those credit bureaus, making sure, again, that the information is correct on them, that the address is correct, that, you don't have, 5 different Experian or Equifax accounts with 5 different, business addresses on there that are old. And we want to make sure that when you actually do get approved for an EIN only card, it's actually reporting to the right place. It's
Yeah.
not reporting to, some other place, that it doesn't exist anymore, from 5 years ago. We want to make sure that the information is in one singular place. You have one singular corporate presence.
Yeah.
And again, that it's not piercing the corporate veil. You're not, using your home address or your personal phone number. We don't want that stuff involved because we don't want to put your family, your assets at risk. So that was a long-winded way of saying number one is to check your documents.
Yeah.
Number two, another thing that most entrepreneurs don't know, and sometimes I get like the shocked face emoji when I start talking about this. But did you know that if you're not listed, if your business is not listed on the 411 Digital Business Directory, you're going to be denied for business credit every single time?
Wow. Okay. Another good nugget.
Right? Like, what in the heck is the 411 Digital Business Directory? It's like the yellow pages. It's where underwriters go to look.
411 in maybe 15 years,
Exactly,
probably since I
right?
was in college. Because that's what you did off of your Motorola phone. It was like, oh, I need the number for this restaurant. You couldn't get on the web from your old school like phone. So you would call 411 and they would charge you whatever it was, 25 cents per number.
Exactly.
So,
yeah, you can go to 411info.com and take a look and search and see if your business is listed there. If it's not, you can list it for free. And that's where underwriters will go to look and see if your business is real or not.
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible.
So that's number two. Yeah, I would say that that's definitely a big one. And I think the third thing is probably to really just think about, scrutinize your expenses, see what can be reporting to your EIN number. Again, I have business owners who are like, oh, I work from home. I don't really have a lot of expenses. Like, fantastic. Are your lights on?
Yeah.
Do you use toilet paper?
Yeah. Yeah.
These are all things that,
True.
you're using for your business that you could be utilizing your EIN number. You could be having that stuff report to your EIN number.
Yeah.
We have a great business card called eCredible, wraps up your utilities and forces that to report to your EIN number. So every time you turn on your lights in your home office, you're building business credit. Same thing with rent. It wraps up your rent. If you're paying rent at a shopping center or a shopping mall or, co-working hub, you can certainly wrap that up. And same with payroll. Payroll reports to your EIN number as well.
Interesting.
We can find creative ways, and think about it too. I think as I start asking entrepreneurs questions, they start to, oh yeah, okay, I do have a couple of things I think could work.
Yeah.
So start thinking about that. What could be working for your business right now instead of, you working for your business.
And when it comes to, I like the part where you mentioned, kind of looping in rent and utilities and all of that. How does that work for somebody who works out of home?
Yeah. So what the IRS, what you're reporting in your taxes, that's totally different. It doesn't have anything to do with just building business credit. It's not going to impact that in any way. What we're doing is just saying, hey, there's a portion here that is being used for business, but it's not reporting to my business EIN number. I'm not using it to build business credit, but you can, and it's not going to affect what you're doing with the IRS at all.
Interesting. Oh my gosh. So many good nuggets in here, Lindsay. This is amazing. I have so many things I need to be thinking about, and a lot of friends that have started businesses that I know that they don't even know a third of any of this. Obviously you are a business owner yourself. I love that you mentioned, and just to take a step back, in terms of the marketing and the sales piece, because obviously you went out the gate just with the finance offering. And what I love is that you expanded and grew your business on the heels of listening to the customer and what the customer's needs were, which is something that I always talk about. If you aren't paying attention to your customer, you're doing yourself an injustice, because to your point, you're not only going to get somebody who builds trust with you off the bat because you are like, okay, I'm here to help you, but oh my gosh, I can advise you on marketing, I can advise you on sales, and I can put you in touch with somebody that can support you with this. Tell us a little bit about like how that kind of came into fruition.
Yeah, I think I'm really going to take it back and say that I've been listening to entrepreneurs for 20 some years.
Yeah,
and I think that that's really where this grew from. And I think I talked about before that entrepreneurs are just problem solvers.
Yep.
You know, they saw a gap in the landscape somewhere and thought, hey, I can fill this.
Yep.
And after listening to entrepreneurs talk for 20 years about, you know, the different challenges they have in their business, I have to say that this was a huge one.
Yeah.
You know, what business owner doesn't need access to cash and capital? And then, of course, you know, through COVID, it was like blatantly obvious. You know, we had businesses closing, you know, their doors left and right, and it was because of cash flow.
Yeah.
And you know, it's the kind of thing where it is preventable. It's just that entrepreneurs don't have time for this, and I think it's also a big one is that they don't see the need for it until they need it.
Yep. Yep.
And then it's too late.
Sure.
You know, so I think that really this all stemmed from, you know, listening to what entrepreneurs need, and that being the basis of this business was, you know, that, hey, we see a gap in the landscape. We see a whole ton of entrepreneurs that aren't able to access the resources for something silly because of a period and a comma left out of their business name.
Wild.
But that's so important. I mean, I was chatting with the SBA and they said the same thing. Like, no, you don't realize how important that comma and that period is.
Yeah.
That being left out of your business application is the difference between an approval and a denial.
Yep.
Which ultimately can be the difference between, you know, your business opening or closing its doors.
Yeah.
So I think that really listening to what business owners need is the most important part, crucial.
Yeah.
And making sure that, that you're connecting them with the resources that are really going to be the most helpful for them. You know, again, that trust goes a long way.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
It's definitely it's definitely frustrating as a business owner to really try to find, you know, access to these resources. What is it that I need? I don't even know what I need. You know, and I think that it's definitely frustrating. It's like, you know, throwing spaghetti at the wall and trying to figure out what sticks.
Yep.
And what doesn't stick. And, oh, that worked. And then you're passing along information. Hey, it worked for me when I did this. And, you know, sometimes it sticks and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of clarity. There's not, it's all muddled and you can't really figure out what the direct path is. And it does change for every business owner, but there's a lot of elements that are the same.
Yeah. Totally
so
true.
it's finding out just how to navigate this. And, you know, that's what Trebuchet is here for. You know, we want to be your partners. We want to understand your business. We want to understand you and your goals. And we want to help kind of hold your hand down this journey.
Yeah. I think, and I'm not sure if you've recognized this, but I think coming out of COVID has really made business owners so hyper sensitive towards their needs because of the fact that I don't want to just be throwing money here. Not to say that they were throwing money at things prior to COVID, but I think it was a financial wake-up call for all. It was a wake-up call in so many senses across the board, but I think it was particularly a financial wake-up call. And I'm seeing more and more that businesses want to get involved with how their marketing is being handled. You know, where's my money being spent? What's my return on investment? And so on and so forth. So I think this conversation couldn't come at a more important time, just in terms of, you know, really getting this message out there. So honestly, Lindsay, kudos to you and everything that you do in support of these small business owners. I think it's fantastic. And I'm sure it's rewarding at the end of the day too.
It truly is. I have to say, I absolutely love my job. I get to talk with amazing, passionate business owners every day and learn about their super cool businesses. The industries that I work with, I'm telling you, I mean, I range from, you know, talking to Lego Serious Play consultants to, you know, cotton candy companies to, you know, industrial contractors. I mean, it's just so diverse.
That's amazing.
It's really rewarding for me.
Let me know when you get a popcorn company and just send all the popcorn my way.
Got one of those too. Yeah,
Amazing.
I can certainly refer you. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, Lindsay, this honestly truly has been an amazing conversation. Please tell everybody where they can find you, your website and your social handles.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm Lindsay Pennington you can find me on LinkedIn under Trebuchet as well. You know, I'm sure Sasha will share my social media handles as well. TrebuchetSolutions.com. You can find me there as well. My email address is lindsay.pennington@trebuchetsolutions.com. So pretty easy to find. If you're looking as a business owner to figure out what in the heck your business credit score is, I'd be happy to give you a complimentary business credit pool, so that I can tell you exactly where you stand now and, how we can help you to get to at least an 80, on a tier 4, making sure that, meaning that you have access to at least, a pretty significant line of credit or loan. And we can refer you to people. We can offer you options for an EIN only line of credit, or a loan for your business that doesn't cost you anything.
Yep.
The application is free.
Yep.
Not only that, but it's free to have it sit there.
Yep.
But, you have a $250,000 line of credit sitting there, attached to your business EIN only. And now you're ready.
Yeah.
Now you're ready to seize opportunities if they arise. Now you're ready for, oh my gosh, don't talk about another global pandemic, but you're ready to weather the hard times, and you're ready to seize opportunities as they arise. So, it's not against your house. It's your EIN number. I mean, yeah, there's no reason not to. Again, do it before your feet are held to the fire.
Totally true. Well, thank you so much again, Lizzie. This has been incredible. I appreciate your time.
Yeah. Again, really appreciate your time as well, Sasha. It was a blessing to meet you, and I'm so grateful for this time. All I do is travel around and talk to entrepreneurs about 3 steps they can take. So I'm really grateful for the opportunity to do that on your podcast.
Oh, fantastic! Thank you so much.
Yeah.